All right. Um, Monumental Mother's Day. Uh, we just thought it might be helpful. We've told little. I've told some snippets of some stories that kind of the background to some of the things that we've learned. But we thought we'd take a story because we did this in a conference a couple years ago that they asked us to share it, and it seemed like people appreciated it. So we'll see how it goes today. But this is one of those um, kind of stake driving events that is part of our story that we'll never forget. And it was a day where we were able to, when we look back on it, because we've got a couple that has been walking in the trenches with us for the last 15, 18 years with Micah and has been in the thick of it. And so we can talk to them about anything. And when we were talking to them about this day and telling them how this day evolved, they said it was encouraging, but it reminded us that when you guys went through that day, you guys used these different, principles and realities that you had learned, and it helped you navigate that day. And it was kind of like Marissa's been struggling with I don't know what she has.
Yeah, I'm at the end of antibiotics and steroid shots and everything, so I shouldn't be contagious to anybody. I think it's allergies. So I'm going to try to speak without it sounding like I smoke 3 to 4 packs a day, because I don't. But it was a Mother's Day of 2016. So Micah was still in a residency at Conway Human Developmental Center, which was not the place where he really fit, and it was hindsight was a God placement to be on waivers. So we absolutely did not think it was a great fit, but it was closer to home than Florida had been, and he had managed to come home on weekends, and he came home on Mother's Day, which that my Mother's Day was real fun. It was just a lot of work.
And he was there because I don't know if you guys have experienced this, but the things that you really need, typically you don't get. So you rarely have the option of good, better, and best. It's not so good, a little bit worse, and really crappy, right? It's what you kind of, because you're checking boxes, right, with programs and helps and services. So at this point in time, Micah was back up in Arkansas. And so we still were not at a stable place, a good place with him. So the wheels were still wobbling big time, but
he wasn't happy.
He wasn't happy.
A great fit there, but
we were doing it because, as we look back on it, we were playing that card to say we're doing everything we can to bring something good into his life because of the whole situation is just terrible. It's just horrible. So what can we do? And we would take the brunt of making some of these decisions because we were doing it for him. It certainly wasn't that we needed him home for the weekend. That's just not place where we were. But we brought him home, and we were. This is back to, I think I told a story in there earlier about we had thought through the whole weekend, and we had thought through what needs to happen and what could the possibilities were and what the contingency plans were. And so we pulled the trigger, and then he came home.
And
so we came to the end of the weekend.
Yes, so it's a Sunday afternoon. Jared's parents live here in Arkansas now, so he took his mom out for coffee because things were going well at the house with Micah, his 2 younger siblings. And you never know, but you have to kind of have plan A, plan B, plan C, and then adjustments. And so it was going to be coffee. It was going to be close. He took his mom out. Micah was doing well. And then when he got back, we were going to take him back to Conway and go and maybe get him something to eat and take him back, which is always a production, and there's always stress. So Micah, Jared's gone for a little bit. Micah says, "You know what, Mom? You can just take me back. I'm good," which I believed him. And you really do. You want to win. You want your child to win. So I loaded up our younger 2 kids, who Micah wasn't quite 18, so 15 and 13. Marla and Jeremy, and so they didn't want to go. But I said, I need you to go, Mike. I want you to go, and we're going to just drive to Conway. Let's get a car. And he's obsessed with my phone and the internet because he has no privileges there to do it. So he's on my phone. And at the time, Marla was having problems and needed to borrow my phone for 30 seconds to check something. I can't even remember what it was. So I'm driving down 40 at 75 miles an hour, and Mike is in the front seat. And you're pretty much on 40. You're stuck on 40. There's very few exits. So I just said, Micah, Marley needs to check something. And it was something that I had to have her check. It wasn't an option of her holding off, because you're always thinking, what is my best options? So he refused, and I started to get madder and madder, because I obviously forgot that I had a special needs child in the car going 75 miles an hour. Mm-hmm. And then I said, Micah, it's my phone. Please hand it to Marla for 30 seconds, and she's going to give it right back. And I was super short and firm. And many times you have to establish who's king of the mountain, and many times it works. It just didn't work at that particular time. So he threw the phone at her and hit her and pounded her in the leg. And of course, she didn't say anything. She did her stuff. She handed it right back. He wouldn't touch it. And he starts pounding on my doors. And I'm praying as I drive. And I'm staying in the right lane. And I'm just thinking, I got to get to the Oak Street exit. I just have got to get on the grounds so they can help me. And I'm checking my locks, and I'm just, a million things are just flooding through my mind. I want my child to be protected. I don't want to cause an accident. Should I pull over? But he'll run in. You as moms, 4 million things are flooding through our mind as we try to handle what's going on. And you're always backpedaling. Should I not come? How did I see this coming? I shouldn't have yelled at him. Really, everything is a moot point at that point. So.
But I had gotten a phone call.
Did Marla call you? No.
Because to say you were heading back.
Oh, that's right. Before, and you questioned.
So I'm sitting in Panera with my mom, trying to act typical, trying to keep that in the background, even though I know he's at home and all that kind of stuff. And also my phone rings and I see it's home or whoever, someone from home. So of course I answer it right as a mom. Oh, she goes, we're taking Micah back. And I'm thinking to myself, why would you take him back without me? But at that point, this is where part of this came in, is my first response was, okay, what my normal first response would have been, would have said, I would have called, said, get back to the house. What in the world are you doing? Are you out of your mind? Blah, blah, blah. That's what I was thinking. But I said, no, Marisa, we had built up a level where we knew what was going on. We knew the best way to handle things. And I said, no, if she's taking him back, there's a reason that she's taking him back now. And she's taking him back without me. So I got off the phone and I looked at Mom and I said, well, she's heading back with Micah. I have no idea how this is going to go. And we just kept going with coffee.
So I was praying and praying as we were driving. I know the kids in the backseat were getting scared. Micah's just getting more angry and more angry. And I'm trying to calmly talk to them, like, Micah, don't ruin our next visit. I know you're upset. Let's pull it together. Just trying to calm. And of course, I got a green light. I was like, thank you, Lord. I was just flying off Oak Street, which never happens if you ever get off 40 to Oak Street. If you ever get a green light. And I can make my turn, and I'm almost to the roundabout to Conway entrance. And for some reason, in my attempt to keep doors locked, I must have clicked the unlock on the window buttons. And right before we turned in, he puts the window down and throws my phone out into the ditch. Well, I kind of need that phone because I'm going to have to get people to come out and help me get him out of the car or whatever. So I had to stop the car short of the gate. And
literally.
As I'm turning in.
10 feet from the driveway of the gate where it's their official property, literally stopped right there.
But I was just, and I just said, okay, I have to have the phone, and it's not locked, so they could run right back up. So I said, Marla, please get out and get the phone for me. At that moment, as I unlocked the car, or she got out, he manually unlocks the car door, runs out of my car, runs across the street into the neighborhood, never to be seen. Now, I am calling must have called, I can't even remember. But at that point, it's not like it was the first time to have a crisis. But, and you just have to go, okay, it's a fix it mode. It's not reaction mode. This is Mother's Day. I have to fix this. So we calmly call, we look for a little bit, we call 911, explain the situation. Marla calls her dad. He's heading up. And the gracious
and the
parts,
HDC.
And I called HTC. So here's where I know my husband, and I know what he did on the phone, was he put into practice what we believe about communication, about being a team. He just calmly asked me questions, made sure I was okay, didn't attack me, didn't say you should have never taken it by yourself, didn't make me feel stupid or, tell me the decisions that you made. How did we get to this point? How did he get out? Never once did that. Now, I could have had a lot of ammo to give him, and even if I did, he still handled it the way that made us a team and work together and solve a problem instead of attacking each other because the situation was so stressful.
Because those situations, if you guys have experienced it, the crisis moments are typically when you're looking for someone to blame, right? It's somebody's fault. It's not my fault. It's certainly not the kid's fault. So someone's got to take the blame. There's got to be, because it's just our emotional response to stuff. And so that's what typically happens.
So he got up there. It took him about 25 minutes. Our daughter went with Jared to start looking around. At this point, I'm not even worried about Micah. I'm just so ticked off at him. I'm like, kid, self-preservation. He's not going to run on the interstate. Can't run that fast anyway. He's probably exhausted. So I sat at the entrance and waited with our son. As I'm sitting there, and all the Conway police cars are going by, and the fire trucks and the rescue people are going by, I'm like, oh my gosh, all these resources are being used because my child jumped out of the car.
They set up a perimeter.
And Conway Human
all the way out
Developmental
to the
Center
freeway,
people are out.
And they set up like a mile perimeter, and had police standing in the fields and in the woods, and they were on radios and everything because it was a search, a person search.
So the Conway people had their golf cars, they were driving all over, and I'm just like, this cannot be happening. This is not my life. How many times have we said that? Mm-hmm. This is not my life. You can't write that kind of stuff. You can't even think of it. So as it's getting darker and darker, and I hear
when I got there, I told Marisa, I said, you stay here, because she said, I want to stay here at the car in case he comes back to the car. I said, no, that's right, a good place for you to be. So you stay here, and one of my kids came with me for a little bit, and I said, I'll go out and start looking. So we're trudging through.
And you're driving around.
We're trudging through fields, woods, climbing over fences, barbed wire. We're looking everywhere. I mean, we have no idea where he's at. We had never even been over on that side of the road. And we're looking everywhere, and
you called me and said they're just about ready to launch the helicopter. I'm like, he better be covered somewhere because when I get a hold of him, he might be huge, but I'm going to beat his butt for doing this. And so then they called me, and it's dark at this point. Does he have any seizures? Does he have seizures? Epilepsy? No, he does not have any seizures. And they're just questioning me over and over. That's another thing where you're like, come on, please. You try not to get defensive. You try to explain facts without feelings. You try not to read anything they're asking you because you do feel on the spot sometimes, right? Mm-hmm. People question you want to wear a shirt. He's special needs. I'm not a bad mom. We've done everything we can. All those things that people just are doing. So I'm trying to be very calm. And
because they're of course in this situation, they found what we found out is they found Micah basically in a catatonic situation. He was just kind of slumped down in a corner against a building, and he was just kind of unconscious, and they had some scratches on him and stuff, and they're believing him over us.
Oh, no.
And you're
so we drive. It wasn't even very far, blocks from where he was at. So we're driving over toward that Moy recreational areas, all those things, and hiding in there. I'm like, this little kid is a really good actor, but you're surrounded by people who are questioning, like Do you not care? Are you upset? So he hops in the ambulance with Micah, and my daughter drove one car, and I followed over to the hospital. And the kids are going, he's telling me I can't. I said, yes, I do. Yes, I do. Now, at that point, my other younger teenagers are watching how we interact with each other. There was a whole bunch of lessons. The people that we're working with, the staff at Conway, our children are watching us how to handle crisis, and we were actually handling it with the tools that we had used. God's intervention, because that was not really, this was surreal. The whole time was surreal. So we get there, and my children, the youngest, I was asking Marla, who's now 19, about that event. She goes, I'll never forget that event. But she wasn't traumatized when she relived it. She said, yeah, we all thought he was faking it. We talked about it at the hospital. And I said, okay. So we got to the hospital, interacted with the staff, told them our opinion without him.
They did all these tests for epilepsy and this and that and
he
the other
doesn't.
thing.
He's very
And he's still
smart
still playing his part.
This
he's
role.
laying there on the gurney, and he's got these big eyes, and he's just staring at the ceiling, and he's not responding to anything, and you're just like,
he's so good.
I wanted to reach over and choke him.
So the head person in Conway comes and talks to us in the family room, and she's all sensitive. She goes, I said, honey, he's totally faking it. She goes, oh, good, I thought he is too. So we, we're caring. We obviously know that he is probably traumatized himself in some aspect, and now he's trying to figure out how to get out of this because he's in a whole heap of trouble.
Because what he ended up doing is when he sped off across that field and climbed over
neighborhoods,
fences and all this stuff they did, he got scraped up and stuff like that. I'm not sure that he didn't pass out because he outdid his heart. I mean, he is a big, fat, out-of-shape kid, and here he is, and he's acted like he
ran like a bullet.
Oh yeah. So I'm sure he's sitting there, and his body just shut down, literally shut down because you're doing stupid things to me. And
so we got our son-in-law to come and get our kids, and we followed the van back to Conway Human Development.
So they had taken but I don't know what word it is, but responsibility back for him. So they were back. He was back in their care, like when they take him off of campus to take him to a hospital or a doctor visit or something like that. So now they were back. He was back in their care, and so we got him. We took him back, followed them back, and now it's just 11 o'clock at night. And they said, we're going to take him to the nurse's ward to start with, just to make sure we're going to watch him for the night. And I said, fine with me. We walk him in there. He gets settled, and so we're thinking.
We're communicating. We love him. We're not feeding in on the drama. We're not ever telling him all the people that were involved or giving him anything, because state troopers. Later on, he told us, yeah, I heard I was on a state trooper network, and I was like, oh, well, I don't know anything about that. Just downplaying it to the very hill, thinking, oh my gosh, I gotta bring all these people cookies. Tell them big a thank you. And the whole time, my husband, and even if the roles were reversed, the stupidity of the whole situation and the seriousness of it and how many people were involved, we could have attacked the other person for the situation. How did you get yourself in that situation? And never once did he do that. And so we're walking out in the parking lot in the dark at 11:30 on a Sunday night on Mother's Day. And I just...
We walk out the back door, we're walking down the sidewalk,
cars.
We're holding hands. And she
you go, Happy Mother's Day. And I go, best Mother's Day ever. Those people that post all that stuff on Facebook about how great their kids are. Nobody's called out like emergency services in Conway for their Mother's Day, right?
It was kind of like a Facebook post of Pinterest nailed it, right?
It's a fail.
It's like, yeah, we attempted, but it didn't
quite frankly, it's really the only Mother's Day I ever remember. So, if he has that going for him, it was my most memorable Mother's Day. But we talked on the way home. And
we talked that, and that was probably the biggest takeaway for us was we jumped on the phone. So we have 30 minutes, to drive back to our house, And we were literally on the phone the entire time, and we were talking through what we had just gone through. You know, just, honey, can you believe the stuff that we've had to go through? Can you believe what happened? Yeah, I know. Are you okay? Yeah. You know, I mean, I know you were scared, and I know you were mad, but we sat there. I mean, it was literally this. It was black outside, and we were having this just real intimate, loving conversation for 30 minutes as we went home, as we processed the latest event in our lives. And the thing that I go back to is what that could have been like if you were mad at each other. What the after party would have looked like if you weren't in the trenches together for an event like that, where you didn't even, because I mean, we've all heard, right? It's happened here in Little Rock. The kid that jumped out of the car on the 430 bridge, right? When I found out how close the freeway was to where we were, and I knew how desperate Micah was for attention and what he was capable of trying to do, I mean, there was no doubt. I had thoughts going through my mind that this could be the end of this whole thing. I mean, this could turn out as an absolute tragedy. And so we were able to process that together. We were able to grow from it, learn from it. But when I look back on it, the core is that we dealt with Micah, just like I shared earlier. We dealt with the situation. We prioritized what we needed to do. But underlying it all is we didn't vary from what we had established in going, whatever happens with Micah, because we can't control all that, we can control what happens here. We can do what we need to do, and that's what we tried to do.
And laugh about it. And just, if you're going to, here's one of the things I want to encourage. The stories you're going to have, most people could not even imagine writing, like making it up. Mm-hmm. And guess what? It's okay to laugh about them later, or just to talk about ridiculous. Or when Mike is sitting in the back of a police car and waving to me like, "This is the best day ever," You're like, okay, I'm gonna laugh about some things that are just kind of humorously ridiculous, because if you don't, you will just kind of implode. And even with our typical kids, the stupid things they do and say and think, sometimes you're going, okay, can't make stupid like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just, I pray for encouragement each and every day. Lord, just give me one bit of encouragement, whether it's just something that makes me laugh or something that just cares. And in turn, you all can be an encouragement to other people that are going through things that most of also the outside world doesn't understand and can't encourage. So let me just tell you, you're equipped with more than you realize, and you can turn around and use it for good in other people's lives, and encouragement, and just saying things or laughing about a situation or giving them a hug. It isn't because we've gotten through it longer. We just have more of an outreach, and I love the fact that what we're sharing could be shared to you, who then can share it to a whole bunch of people that will never have any touch point to. So use it for good. You're equipped with some things that can definitely be utilized. So don't waste it. Sometimes it'll feel like a black hole.
All right, we have about 7 minutes left here. I just want to share with you 5 key things that Marisa and I have found to be the most helpful in everything that we've done, of just getting through this. So not barring any of the stuff that we've shared already. Number 1 is communication. So the last breakout, we talked about what communication is and what it should be. But what I'm talking about is we actually do a lot of it. So Karen was sharing with us right now. Can I share that? As Karen was sharing, they're at a point where there's not a lot of communication going on, okay? And she's feeling the brunt of that, okay?
But you just reminded me, we used to be able to do it.
So you
better. We had it. And it's easy to forget when you're in the thick of a difficulty. We've had crises, not thankfully involving the police, except one small instance when I called cops because she kicked the windshield out of the car.
Oh my gosh.
But we used to be better at not blaming each other and not encouraging each other, and that reminds me that we can get there again.
Yeah.
Usually it's
And it helped a lot, didn't it? It helped a lot. 'Cause
when
if
you
you,
have it.
so communication, guys, if you're not good at communicating, just work on it to get better. But we communicate a lot. We talk with each other, let each other know about what's going on in our lives, what we're struggling with, just listening, whatever it is. Number 2 is we value each other. We intentionally let each other know through multiple ways that we value the other person. And our love languages are different, okay? We've had to learn what communicates value. And we've had some hard lessons in doing that. Number 3 is don't let yourself be consumed by the issues. The issues will always be there. Okay? And what we've learned is that many times that you have to let things run their course. There's a certain timing, kind of a cadence for certain things that have to happen in our lives and our worlds. And we want to press and we want it to go faster, or we want to deal with it right now. Where dealing with it right now may not be the best thing to do. So if we by not letting ourselves be consumed by the issues is, hey, we have to deal with Micah running away from your car right now. We're going to deal with that, but we're not going to, we choose not to let it define who we are and how we're going to live. Does that make sense what I'm saying? What the other thing about that is that when you're consumed by the issues and the mountain of issues that's there, many times the issues become bigger than they actually are. Because we're fixated on them, we're thinking about them all the time, and all that kind of stuff, and they become bigger and badder than they are, and it makes them harder to deal with. Number 4, face the fear. Don't let the fear of what's going to happen, what's in the future, how's this going to work out, don't let those things cripple you into living in fear of what's next, because you can't control what's next and you don't know what's next. You really don't know. And Marisa once asked, I remember we were driving down our road leaving to go somewhere, and I had made, I don't know, we had made some major decision with Micah. And all of a sudden she just looked over at me and she goes, Jared, how are you so calm when you make a decision like this and you just seem to be good with it? And when I said, this is why, because I am not thinking about our comfort level today. I'm thinking about Micah's entire life in front of him. And this is the best thing I can do for him for the rest of his life. And so I wasn't stuck with living with, like this one decision and what is this one thing going to make. I had to see it in the broader picture. And then the last thing is that we pray about everything all the time. The Bible talks about being constantly in prayer. And we literally pray for Micah all the time. We pray for our other kids. We pray for each other. We pray for our situation. We pray for endurance. We pray for maybe a breakthrough with Micah. So Micah still doesn't work. He's 21 years old. He lives in an apartment. He's got no he's trying to give him responsibilities, right? He's supposed to help clean his apartment, keep his room clean, and he's supposed to vacuum and do some dishes and help with the laundry and stuff. Left to himself, Micah would live in a pile of dung for the rest of his life. He wouldn't have any problem with it. It's not even Micah's fault. I mean, as you guys know, his brain doesn't function like that. He doesn't know the difference. He doesn't care. So, as we've told him, we're his outside brain. said, Micah, we partner with you and we help you with things that you struggle with. But Micah should have some type of a job by now. And how is Micah not absolutely bored to death? Like literally. He lives the same 24 hours I do every day, and he does absolutely nothing. He sits there and just watches the same movies over again. I mean, how many times can you watch Dragon Ball Z? I can't watch it once and not go insane, and he's watched it 4,000 times. But so we pray for breakthroughs, we pray for protection, we pray for provision, right? We're all looking for what is the next resource that you wish you could have, or that the resource that you have won't run out. It won't end in December 31st or something like that. And
when you
so
find a resource and it disappears.
Exactly.
It's heartbreaking. That just happened to us.
Absolutely. And you wonder in the moment of that, and in the short time afterwards, you wonder, how are we going to survive? How are we going to make it? But what do? Go back to the principle. You keep plodding and you just do the next thing. Remember, that's all you can do. You can't make this stuff appear out of thin air. And so pray about it. Keep plodding. I know everybody in here has already knows about plodding and persevering, because I don't think anybody in here has a 6-month-old that just got diagnosed, and you're right at the beginning of your journey. There could be somebody like that, but I don't know. But it sounds, it's simple, but it's not easy. The path we walk many times is not that complicated, because there's really a limited number of things that we can do, and you do those things, and when you get to the end of that thing, you look for the next thing. You look for the next resource. You look for the next person that can help you. You look for the next opportunity to reignite communication. You do those different things, and you just keep going. Okay? Any questions on anything?
How can we find out more about what y'all do?
Well, Tangle House, we did it. We formed Tangle House with the friends of ours that have been in the journey with us with Micah. We do it on the side. It's not our full-time gig. So we do it whenever we can. Like we got invited to do it with this group. So whenever we get invited, we're there to do it. We like doing it. We've got a 3-hour seminar. We've got like a half-day seminar that we do, and we've also done like marriage weekends where we start on Friday night, and an organization on the East Coast, they put together a weekend where we started on Friday and we got done at Sunday at noon. And that was a whole different experience for us, because they had provided childcare for the entire weekend, and we went off and did it at not a resort, but a place.
Nice place.
Yeah, out in the woods, cabin. So it was supposed to be a getaway for them, but yet with some content in it. So we had some free time and things like that. So we've done a lot of different stuff.
And we know the limitations of parents especially if they can't get away very much. So that's why we've adjusted it for different things. Sometimes it's just a really condensed, packed morning.
Our website is not fully. We changed web browser, whatever we did. I'm not the pro on that. We have a different format, so it's there. It's not really great, but it's there. I believe our videos are loaded up on tanglehouse.com. So what we've done there is we've taken the seminar and we've broken it up into bite-sized pieces. So the videos are anywhere from like 4 to 12 minutes long. So they're really short. So you can grab them if you had a 4-minute gap in your day where you wanted to grab something, you could. But it's not just us speaking. It's got stories of people blended in, and you're hearing from moms and dads and related to the content. That's part of it. We got it broken out into sections. So if your spouse isn't here and you want to watch some stuff, you can go there and do it. And our contact is on there.
Speaking of the devil.
There's my 4th phone call today, right there. But they're up there. They're up there for free. You can just go in there and watch them.